And what about the story that when it was first seen by the British Lion advertising department, that they were completely flummoxed by the ending and couldn't believe that the film was ending in the way that it did?
That's because they've got no imagination
Well,
in the film industry, that's why.
the British Lion sales force, after the film was shown to them, filed out in silence, and I was told that they absolutely hated it.
Well, total incomprehension.
And they said, do you expect us to sell this film? I mean, it's got this terrible ending. And I'm afraid that was their reaction.
And Anthony Shaffer said that they said to him, "Is this how it ends?" And he said, "Yes." And they said, "Well, you can't end like this." And he said, "Well, it's been in the script for the last 8 months. Did you not bother to read it?"
I think the answer would be no.
One of them did suggest that it could, scenes could be shot where it came to rain and that the Wicker Man fire came out as a sort of act of God, and then we could have had a sequel with.
Yes.
Anyway, no one took any of that. Even
I've read the sequel.
Even Dealey and Spikings didn't buy that.
There was a sequel written by Anthony Shaffer,
Yep,
wasn't
I've
there?
got it.
And what happened? I mean,
I'm not going to go into that.
No, I'm not going. No, don't.
It's called
no,
the loathly worm. We can't.
Let's go into that.
It would confuse people much too much.
Yes.
It confused me when I read it.
Yeah, totally. But it is worth saying, just as a tantaliser, that Howie is in it alive.
Yes.
Yeah. Yes.
Yes, he is.
He is.
Mm.
But we're all a great deal older.
Yes.
Which in my case wouldn't be a problem at all, not like now.
Even the director was a great deal older.
And now, as we start to move towards the revelation of the Wicker Man, let's just say something about the creation of that edifice. Seamus Flannery was the person who...
There's Paul Giovanni.
To the left.
Yes. Now, where's Tony? He's
But
around somewhere.
I don't think Tony's had it. Where?
Oh, he was in there. I know that. When they started humming.
I can't see him.
Well, I can remember a very brief flash of him.
Seamus said, sorry.
Seamus was the person who physically designed the Wicker Man that we have now. Without the face. Famously, originally there was the thought of having a face with flowers in the eyes, and then we ended up with the headless figure. What do you all remember about seeing the designs and seeing the thing itself?
As the director, I gave him a drawing and some because I do a storyboard of the entire film, and I gave him some references. They were really Victorian drawings of what Julius Caesar saw when he first came over in 55 BC, and he then elaborated on that, and he played with various versions of the face, and I think he came up with a very happy solution. I mean, happy is perhaps not the right word, but very effective solution. In really blanking out the face, because he played with having eyes and a nose and that sort of thing, and I think what he finally gave us is marvelous.
Well, in the illustration from that 17th century edition of Caesar's Gallic Wars, it's a Wicker Man which is absolutely packed with people. There's like about 20 people in it, and it has almost a human head atop it, isn't it? It's a much more...
Yes, with a beard and things like that, but that's how the Druids... murdered is now the word for it, or sacrificed perhaps.
So we're coming
Can I just point out,
yeah,
this is the first time I'd ever seen the Wicker Man.
And you say,
I
oh,
deliberately
Christ,
did
Jesus
not see
Christ.
the Wicker Man.
Yes. It's a
never
terrifying looking figure. It really is.
I saw one little bit of a drawing, and I thought, I mustn't see this.
I hadn't seen it
So I didn't
either.
actually see it until I came over that way.
I hadn't either.
And how tall was it?
I don't know. It seemed to me to be 1,000 feet. I don't know how tall it was. Do you remember?
I think it was about 35 feet high.
Oh, I would think so, yes.
And the tree that they've just walked past was not a natural growing tree there, was it?
No. Well, you see, this is all golden bough stuff. I mean, the tree represents, and we had to have a tree there, represents the goddess Hera, and it should be there because she's the goddess who presides over the Wicker Man, and for our pagan friends, who we mustn't ignore, this perhaps should have been in a forest, but the fact that the tree is there is necessary.
That's the Scotsman who famously didn't drop you, Edward.
Yes, that's right. But there are two points also which are extremely interesting here. One, of course, is, well, the incantation, if you like. The animals that you see, of course, naturally, well, touched. People cut round them. I mean, nobody was burned or singed or injured or anything like that. And the other thing is, well, wake ye heathens and howl, I think you've just said. But the other thing was that the song we sing, Someone Is Coming In, is, I believe, the oldest song that we possess in the Anglo-Saxon or even English language. Lude sing cuckoo, it is, isn't it? Or something like that. But they sing it with joy, you see.
And what is the truth, or otherwise, of
Watch
the story that you're...
Watch the eyes. The previous... The eyes go to the biggest bloody crib board, basically.
Really?
Yeah. Hanging on the cliff.
Really?
Yeah, I dotted it around, and
I never
basically
noticed
because well, what happened was, if you remember, this was one of the scenes where we had to get the right weather.
Yes.
And we were getting. This is the time when the weather was getting, quite bad.
It was right at the end of the
And
shoot.
so it was not shot on the day, per call. It was shot earlier. I had only broken the back of it, so I hadn't actually got down to learning hard and fast, you see. I didn't tell anybody because I didn't want to go and say, well, I don't know it yet. So the prop team and myself got this whole thing together, and for the centre of the piece, the centre of the speech, it's on two rock faces. But on one rock face and on a piece of promontory on the hill.
I think in his strange way, Howie, of course, fears death, naturally, a terrible death like this. But there is a point when he's praying later, when I think he almost accepts the death of a martyr.
Oh, yes, yes.
Because to him, this is the salvation, the ultimate salvation of his soul. And someone has already said, you will sit with the saints among the elect.
Yes.
And although at the time, of course, he doesn't agree, the point does come now when he starts to pray. I think he does accept martyrdom.
The speech we gave him, which is Tony's actually rather last-minute addition to the script, is the speech that Sir Walter Raleigh made before he went to the block.
I
Really?
didn't know that.
Yes, that's the actual speech,
I didn't know that.
the one you're making now.
Gosh,
you
you
see.
learn a little. 30
I didn't
years
know
I
that
just
either.
learned that. This was
Because I
quite
die
nasty
unshriven,
too.
you know. all
Yes,
that.
yes, oh yes, yes.
Now because this was a piece we really had lots of conversations about what you should actually say in there, because it was a very difficult scene to write, really.
Yes, it must have been, actually. Yes.
And but I think it's just right. I mean, just correct. What he decided in the end.
From a technical point of view as well, we see one Wicker Man, but there are in fact two. There's one up on the cliff head and Burrow Head, and one about 100 yards away down to the left, which is slightly lower, so that
Just
you could
the head,
get
though,
the,
wasn't it?
the
And there was
final
a torso.
shot. Yeah, the torso.
Was there? I didn't know.
Yeah.
Of course, the final shot is just
I think it's the
unbelievable.
best final shot I've ever seen in any movie.
Oh, it's
ever.
just incredible.
Well, you
because
see, that final shot was what we thought we'd have to fake, because
But you didn't, did you?
because we never thought we'd get this with the sun actually going down, and to this
it's
scene,
incredible.
and I mean, we must have saved a fortune by that being for real.
That was absolutely astonishing.
Yeah.
It is incredible. I mean,
Yeah.
now that would be CGI.
Now, was this second unit?
Yes.
Yes.
Second unit was marvellous.
Oh, tremendous.
Peter Orwell. I mean, it was just fantastic. I
Oh, I
couldn't
saw
have made
him
the film
today.
without him, actually.
Just to bring this to a close, having now sat through that version, which is 99 minutes long, at PAL, slightly shorter, 96 because of speeding, which is called the 102-minute version. Robin, are you happy with that as the director's cut, that being the longest existent version?
I don't think you could find a director in the world who wouldn't be happy with the longest cut. But yes, I am happy.
And Christopher, you still feel that there is more?
I do feel this film could have held another 10 minutes, where the other characters would have been more developed, and some of my dialogue at the very beginning, when Harry and I meet for the first time, because it's so witty and so beautifully written.
Edward, your feeling that's complete or that it needs additions?
I think it's absolutely dead right. It was such an important part of my life and such an important time for me that I look back on it with such joy and with the people that I was with. And
We all do.
we've got as near as damn it the director's cut, and that's what
We have
that's
a
what we
very
should do.
remarkable film, which is one of the best British films ever made.
Well, Christopher Lee, Robin Hardy, Edward Woodward, thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you.